as you know, I've been teaching here for quite some time, and one of my philosophies is I'm not the only source of information and not the only answer. I feel that creating a teaching environment where students can contribute and where I learn things benefits everyone. And I would say that I've probably learned more from the 4 people here than they learned from me. So starting here, this end, his classmates in the class of 2011 with Courtney Comfort probably got tired of hearing me say, A for the day, again, Mr. Comfort, because he answered the questions right more often than anyone else. Margaret Darcher, class of 2014, stands out in 10 years of teaching as probably one of the smartest students I've ever had.
Yeah! Don't let us down.
Paul Nissen, my unofficial TA and teaching assistant on his 3rd volunteer assignment this week. Volunteers to help out students with his own jam sessions, helped out on Sunday morning and Monday evening, and so finds time to come in and help out here. I would not be where I am today without all the required reading he sent my way. So if you see something that's tagged "Listen to Nissen," that means I'm reading it because he recommended it. And Riley Hollibo, Riley, are you 20 yet? Yeah, Riley is now 20. Probably one of the most frequent contributors to Eric's links last year. I learned a ton from him. So give it up for these guys.
So just a note on the format here, we have a list of questions we're going to run through. We'll probably cut off in about half an hour and open it up to you guys for questions of your own. So we'll start off with where do you all work and what's your job title?
I'll start. I'm at Winter. It's a small digital creative agency in Fremont. My title is technically creative, or junior creative sometimes. My role really shifts a lot. It's a really small team of about 12 people. Yep.
Sweet. My name is Paul Nissen, and I work at Avalara. It's a tech company that deals with sales tax automation. Long story, I'll tell you later. And I work in the marketing department, on a team within the marketing department called the Marketing Technology Group. We're about 7 or so people, and my job title is UX/visual designer.
I'm Margaret. I work at Amazon. I work for the online device sales division of Kendall Marketing. So, and my title is UX design contractor, although it is kind of a hybrid UX and visual role. And my team is responsible for the detail pages for all of the Amazon branded devices that we sell.
I'm Courtney. I work at Microsoft. The team I work on is called SAM Studios, which stands for Server and Management Studios. I'm a UX designer there. We design software for large enterprise client data centers, both locally and all around the world, that manage servers in both local data centers and also a hybrid cloud model. And our team also works on the remote desktop application. And before that, I worked at REI for 3 years. People usually have more questions about REI. So.
Would you guys mind describe what the interview process was for your current jobs? Or maybe some other jobs that you were applying for to get it?
For Winter, it was extremely informal, where they admitted to me that they didn't have a human resource person. So I interviewed with the CEO and the co-founder, which is kind of intimidating.
They're also both about Riley's age, by the way. I interviewed with them when I got out of school, too.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah. I have no idea.
Younger than me.
Okay, in that age group. Anyway, the process there was a little informal because they had already looked at my work, and all they wanted from me was for me to present my work and show that I can back up what I did. So I basically had to present 3 or 4 of my projects, which then they brought in different devs or designers who then fired their questions at me. Why did you do this? Why is this misspelled on your page? Like, they went over nitty-gritty things. But I just kept my cool and said, oh, I did this because of that. Oh, and because I had no sleep, I missed that spelling error. Sorry. But overall, their process was really chill. It was only a day. It was about a 3-hour interview. Actually, no, it was a 2-day thing. They interviewed me But then they're like, no, we want you to meet someone else. And they brought me back a week later. And they're like, here's this person. I said hi, we talked like 20 minutes. And they're like, cool, that's all we wanted you to do. And then they offered me the job later that day.
So mentor, did they scout your work ahead of time? Because you said they already saw your work, or was it like,
It was
how did you get
as my manager described it, as a weird like time flux thing where I randomly discovered them on the internet. They somehow found me on LinkedIn. Then someone that they knew recommended me. Outside this, we happened to talk to each other. And then they brought me in for an interview. So it was just kind of this weird week of networks colliding at one point that it kind of worked out.
Let me see here. For me, I was contract to hire. I'll get to that in a second. But the interview process was pretty rigid. It was for a legit salary gig that they were essentially hiring for. It was a four-hour interview loop with about 7 different people, I think. Not all at the same time, like 1 or 2 once, 1 or 2 here, and it was, people interviewed me were the person who eventually became my boss, a coworker, or somebody who is now my coworker, but on my team, a teammate, the creative director, the head of UX, a developer, because I'm kind of like a hybrid role. I do a little bit of coding too, and he just wanted to just talk shop for a little bit, and then the VP of marketing, who oversees everybody who comes into the marketing department.
So I am a contractor through TCG at my current job, and this was the 3rd position that I had actually interviewed with at Amazon. So, and all of those positions were different kinds of interviews. So it's kind of up to that particular team at Amazon how they want to structure that. So the first interview I had with Amazon was like a 30-minute coffee interview. For a position. The second position I interviewed for, I was told I was going to have a half hour to an hour interview, and it ended up being a 4-hour half loop that I went through the second day of the portfolio show. So that was unpleasant. But the job that I ended up actually getting, I only had a 30-minute phone interview, and they hired me right after that. But my understanding is that they start a file on you, and that you do a loop, and they'll build on what they had seen from the loop. So they probably didn't have to bring me in person because someone had seen me in the loop.
My interview at Microsoft was also super casual. I was there through an agency, a small agency on the east side called All of Us, that I had never heard of. I had a friend from REI that recommended I go talk to them. And it was just me and the hiring manager. It is a contract role, so he just wanted to come in and see me. I kind of went through the whole dog and pony show with my portfolio. And he was just kind of like, yeah, okay. And it was like, so do you have any questions? And he was like, nope, I've seen your work. I just wanted to talk to you. And I was like, okay. And then I started like the week after that, so pretty casual.
Why don't you guys describe what you do in your average week of work?
Yeah, my week varies basically every week. It changes. Being at a small agency, I'll just be handed, we'll maybe over the course of a month have one long project we're working on. Then every week I'll be, hey, here's a new client. I need you to do this X work for, this. They told me I have to explain it without saying any names. It's really hard. Basically, I've worked on some bigger websites that involve more of like everything's already completed. You just have to go through and fix some things, revisit some items, and create assets. There are some projects where it's really cool and high tech, where I'm working off an online style guide and stuff. Others are not, where I'm editing a 200-page PDF style guide to fix. And then some days I'm doing full UX IA audits on websites. And the next day I will be working on the design of another website. It's very rare that I actually am given a project from the beginning till the end. I'm usually brought on for one specific role. Either I'm there to do the UX and AI, then another designer takes over for the design, and I'm just there on standby to like answer questions or help solve some problems that come up. Or I'm brought on just to do the design and someone else is doing UX and AI. Very rarely do I work on the whole project from beginning to end. That's just the nature of being a small firm.
When you say AI, are you talking about information architecture?
Yes.
Or just like
Yeah, sorry, information architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically they give me a ton of content. They're like, what's important for us? And I have to figure that out for the client. Like, I think you should focus on this content. This is where it should go. And it really mixes into UX. It's kind of like old term that was used during the bubble internet age. And so yeah, that's basically how my week goes, is come in the morning, do a stand-up with the team. We go over with my manager, this is what I'm working on today. I do that, and the next day, rinse and repeat. Yeah. A lot of different things.
A lot of different things.
A lot of different things.
I too also do a lot of different things. I wouldn't say I have a 1 week that looks just like another one. I spend a lot of my time doing front-end code, but I'm also kind of project-based too. I was given a project back in May and I was like project manager on that one, and that took about 5 months. It just launched a few weeks ago. So during that process, I was like doing stakeholder interviews, gathering requirements, trying to figure out what the thing was. That's a really tricky thing to figure out when it's something new. And then later on, I was like going down to making tickets and eventually design, the wireframes and whatnot, design prototype, and then yeah, I was producing production code. But during kind of like a week where I don't have a big project, it can be a couple of website updates, help create widgets. I work on my team is more of a development team, and so because of that, they like creating kind of reusable widgets, reusable chunks of code that can be used on multiple different web properties, because we have about like 6 or 8 different web properties, and we'll create things that we use in our team, and then other teams might want to use them too, depending on what they're up to. And so I could be doing a full-on page redesign, or creating one little form that's going to be reused again and again and again.
So depending upon the project the nature of that project I'm on, it would look differently, but when we're launching a detail page at Amazon, generally that workflow looks pretty similar. What I do is work with a marketing team who provides copy and a general direction for how we want to talk about the products and the features and benefits of that product, and then I make a mock-up of the detail page in Photoshop, and also determine what kind of imagery we're going to be using within that page. And then probably about every day or every couple of days as we get closer to launch, I'm presenting that mock-up to people on the marketing team or senior designers or executive level individuals who have to give sign off on some of those pieces. And it's just kind of constant iteration on what that's going to look like, both within my mock-up of the page as well as the production graphics that I keep that I maintain that will ultimately be used on the page. And then right now I'm in a completely different project that is very different, and I've been doing a lot of research and auditing of sites for partners that Amazon works with, and trying to come up with streamlining a process for how we can better work with with other partner retailers who sell our products. So it just looks completely different from that. It's a lot of research and creating documents that are then shared with other teams, and kind of communication and iteration based on what I've been finding in my research.
I work on a team of designers primarily, and one researcher on really high-level exploratory work. We're in this unusual for me case of designing for these highly educated users that know a lot of intimate details about a system that I know nothing about. So I know nothing about how server clusters work with VMs and storage blobs. I don't know any of that. So, and most of my team doesn't either, even though some of them have been there for several years. Very strange thing. So really a lot of our job is we have to kind of figure out what the business goal is. We're in an unusual spot for them right now where they're kind of adapting a new UX framework for their server tools. So this gives them a chance. Also, I feel like Microsoft is in a place where they're starting to embrace design more holistically, which I think is something that all of us as consumers of Microsoft products have really hoped for a long time. So it's kind of exciting to see it happening. So there's this opportunity for us to actually take all these separate teams that have been working on their own kind of areas for a long time and really start to bring them together and have conversations. So a lot of the work our team does is just finding out who these people are, bringing them in as subject matter experts. At Microsoft, they're usually product owners that will run, say, a specific offering inside the program like Message Analyzer, and bring them in to start having conversations about what the challenges they are aware of already with their users and application, and then figure out as we're adopting into this new framework what that could look like and how we could solve some of that. We sometimes then also have the chance to pull in actual developers to work on the product. And then our goal is really just to get a working prototype, which they actually have a pretty cool web-based tool that you can build a prototype on the fly very quickly with the framework, just so that we can get it in front of real enterprise users who actually have the intimate knowledge of the systems, and just make sure that kind of the overall flow that we've created makes sense. That exposes a lot of the kind of issues and questions that they would have. So, and really the goal just being to bring these separate teams together and get them talking about what the product would look like. Very unusual for me.
It sounds like you guys kind of all like had really casual ways of like going out and getting a job, like you weren't like really uptight interviews or anything like that. Did you apply at a lot of different places or interview at a lot of different places? Margaret, you said you went through an agency. Did any of you other guys go through an agency?
I went through 7 agencies.
Oh wow.
When I graduated, I had 3, and it took me a little bit to get my first job. And like a month in, I turned to Eric, and I'm like, "How many agencies is it good to have?" And his answer was, "How bad do you want a job?" So 7's plenty.
I mean, they contacted me. Like, I didn't go and pursue
Oh,
them
wow.
necessarily. And I feel like if you have your portfolio up pretty early and you connect that with your LinkedIn account pretty early, they will start, they know when everybody graduates, they start lurking around like April, and the agencies will, you know, dig around and they'll search for SCCA, and when they find you and if you've got portfolios ready, they're ready to start talking to you and start sending you on jobs. So I went through, I interviewed with, I think, most of the agencies before I graduated, and then I had some of my interviews before with Microsoft and with Amazon before I had graduated, before the portfolio show.
So like as a general, you think it's probably good to have your portfolio up a good chunk ahead of time?
It just depends. When do you want a job? Do you want a job early? Do you want a job later? Some people want to take the summer off. Some people don't want to be interviewing for jobs at the same time that they're trying to put together a portfolio show. I think it's not. When is the best, it's not when is the best time to do it. It's just when do you want to do it for your own and personal self.
I'm also going to interject one thought here that the job market in Seattle and the demand for our graduates, I don't know if this is the economy or our reputation, has changed vastly between 2011 and 2014. That Margaret and Riley are having a much different experience than Paul and Gordon did. The number of people who are coming to me in April and May saying, "Who you got?" has just changed exponentially in that time period.
Yeah, I would say with working with talent agencies and networking, there, after I got my job at Winter, I was immediately offered like 3 or 4 more jobs from talent agencies. They're like, here are these other jobs you can do. I'm like, but I already took one. And I still get, every other week I still get a call or a message from talent agencies saying, hey, you got another position.
Checking in.
Yeah, like, when are you going to be free? It's a little bit of pain to be like, hey, no, I'm not.
Well, especially when it's an awesome job that you really want. It's a real bummer when you're like, job.
So I love working with agencies because I hate networking. I hate it. I'm not good at it. I have to get real drunk and then I sound stupid. It's not good. So the nice thing I have found with agencies is that you're really leveraging their connections, and they kind of do all the hard work for you. I know people have had different experiences with the creative group, but my agent there was awesome the first time around. If you get someone that really understands what it is you're looking for and asks the right kind of questions, you can kind of tell when you're talking to someone if they're just trying to get you the first job that you'll take, or if they actually care about you getting placed somewhere where you're going to be happy. But it's just so, like, I never would have gotten the job at REI if it wasn't for the creative group. They totally set that up.
Yeah, like my experience where like I signed up with TCG and I haven't really heard much from them. Like the main agency that I've worked through is 24/7 because I really like the guy is really upfront. Like first time he called me, he's like, here's the job. Like before even interviewing me, he's like, I think you're a good role for it. Where I looked at your portfolio, I like your work. He's like, here, can you go meet with them this afternoon? I was like, sure, why not? And it was a really short gig, but it was a great connection where I've been working with him off and on. He's got me in the door at Disney and things like that, just to meet people. And I think those connections are great, just talking to the agencies. And I think I've talked to 4 or 5 of them. But yeah, like 24/7 was the best one for me. TCG worked great for him.
Yeah, Filter also
really
is good
different, yeah.
for digital work. Yeah. Yeah, Filter Digital.
But some people have different experiences with them. Like when
Yes.
I interviewed with Filter, they asked me what my hourly rate that I was looking for was, and I told them, and they looked at me like I had two heads, and I was like, no, if you don't think that I should be earning that hourly rate, I don't feel like I should be having a conversation with you right now. Like you should, I am worthy of this rate and the kinds of jobs that would work with that rate. But if you don't think so, I shouldn't be working with you.
Another thing I found is super helpful, especially when starting out with agencies, is before you even talk to one person, pull out a piece of paper and write down what you want in a job. How big do you want your team? What do you want to be doing during the week? Like for me it was, I want to work on a small team, no more than 10 or 15 people, that sort of thing. Place like Winter Woodman is perfect, and then that way, once you kind of feel good about that and you can start thinking about it, for me, when I was doing the agency circuit, at first, I was constantly turning down work. There's like, you want to do 20,000 icons? I'm like, hell no. Like, that's not at all what I want to do, It's okay to say no, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to get there, hate it, and then bail after 3 weeks. That looks bad on you and the agency, right? And then being very upfront and clear with the agent about what you're willing to do and not willing to do, and so forth. Never feel that they have the upper hand.
And it's okay to not know too. That's one of the nice things about contracting is that you're doing your career, for most of us, it's a brand new career. So it's okay to take several 3-month, 6-month contracts and just kind of get an idea of what kind of work you like doing and what is a good fit for you. I know I went all through the program thinking I'm going to come out knowing exactly what I want to do, and then finished second year and was like, no. So we'll just kind of see what comes along. I mean, it's hard to know what that stuff is like if we're actually in the working environment doing it.
Plus, talent agencies do your taxes for you.
Yes. Yes,
Which
they
is
do.
awesome.
Take your taxes out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, not do If you're an independent contractor, yes, you have to do your own. But if you're a contractor through the agency, that's different. If you have a full-time salary position, you have.
I'm an independent for winter right now.
Oh.
So moving in a different direction for a moment, you guys were all pretty prepared to enter the job market, but all things considered, if you could redo your second year here, would there be anything you would do differently? What advice do you have?
That's a really hard question, just because the
program's changed
so
a lot
different
since we were
3
there.
years ago.
I can tell you something you should do that I did. The IXDA has it's in the spring and it's usually much earlier than you're ready to start showing your portfolio to people, but it's called Reality Check, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Get something together, it doesn't matter at what fidelity, and take it there, because it's a really good chance to start talking to people outside the program about your work and getting just even like a gut check of what kind of work is resonating with people. There could be pieces that you're really excited about that people are kind of like, I've seen work like that a lot, not really into it. So that helped a lot, mostly because it was just like I had no idea going in, and coming out of that event, I felt way better about like the stuff I had to show, which made the rest of getting ready for the show a lot easier actually, which is nice.
Yeah, I'd second that. I got my job at Winter because of Reality Check. Basically, even though nothing happened immediately, about 4 or 5 months later, something happened basically because I met someone at Reality Check.
Yeah, and it sells out right away, so you have to like make sure you hear about it when it goes on sale so you can get tickets.
Yeah. I guess
Else?
our year is the most recent.
Yeah.
Learn JavaScript?
That's not necessarily.
Yeah.
Don't learn it if you don't want to do a job where you would need it. I mean, I guess that's.
Yeah. I would say don't worry about there's the big Sketch fad that's going on right now about using Sketch, and that Sketch is the new design tool, whatever. I don't think you really need to learn that stuff. When you show up at the office, every office has different tools that they're using, and you'll pick them up. They just care about if you can do the general, do you understand design, can you do good typography. They're not concerned about you being able to pick up the tools fast. Like that. So focus more on the concepts, less on the tools. Learning After Effects and stuff is great, but it's better to have a great idea that uses After Effects as a tool, not as use After Effects as an idea to create something. Having an idea and using a tool is way more easier to pitch to somebody and shows looks a lot better.
I think the only advice I could say to do over, I don't know about do over, but Just make sure that you're maintaining a lot of your assets that you're think you may use for your portfolio. Just make sure to keep absolutely all of your files, even if you don't think you're going to use it. You may end up needing it when you start pulling things together.
Yeah, backup your hard drive. I paid one of our photographers like a very modest fee. It was like $250 to shoot all my work, and my drive crashed right after I published my website. So all of those high-res photos are gone. And now, of course, I want to make them much bigger than I did 4 years ago. They're kind of low-res by today's standards, but
I just found myself when I was actually putting together the portfolio, going back and being like, oh yeah, I did task flows for this, but I didn't like make them pretty, and I didn't do it in a way that like was branded the same way the project was branded and that kind of thing. So like making those assets, you know, actually portfolio ready at the time might not take that much more, but when you actually have to go back and you're looking at all of your projects, you have to build those additional assets for it. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of compliments in a lot of interviews about how in my website I would present my work, final work, and below it I would show the process, all the nitty-gritty, like, you know, the really rough wireframes, you know, next low fidelity comps, and they really liked that part.
Yeah.
They would spend a lot more time there than actually at the final product.
Yeah, I had the same experience.
Save all that stuff.
Even make some of it up. Be like, oh, I totally did this.
yeah, that's
No,
good
I made
advice.
it up to some of it too after the fact.
Yeah, if you don't have artifacts of your process this year, especially be conscious of that, because it will help you out a lot to have that and not just to go back and recreate something that maybe you did in your head, like the flow.
Like the flows,
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys have learned at your job that you wish you would have learned at school?
I'd say most of it's like kind of the process of doing business and kind of working on a large creative team. I would say that's kind of the biggest lesson I've learned is, you know, when to say no. Know when somebody comes up to you. My biggest thing is somebody coming up to you with a project and it kind of looks like, you know, oh, this makes sense, I know what to do. And then you realize that there are no requirements, there's no actual measurement of success, there's no actual indicator on what the properly finished product is actually going to look like. And sometimes people, depending on your organization, will want something just because, just wanting it, and it can take a lot of development time, and it just goes nowhere. So I think that depends on where you're at and kind of where you are in the hierarchy of things. So that's not really good, but I just throw it out there. It's very true.
Well, in terms of a small agency, workflow is fast.
Yeah.
I've had to turn out full-on websites faster than I ever had to in Eric's class. So Eric, are you still doing the sprints? Those are way worth it, because I've had a couple websites where like, here, this is what you're doing, huge project. I'm like, great, how many versions do I have? One. You have one take on this, and then we're presenting it to the client. And it's really nerve-wracking, but you still put it out there, and then you just like, hope you did your best job. Like, that was a big learning curve, is that I just had to, you know, forget fancy things. I just had to go back to the core fundamentals of what the site needs to do, get that content there, and shove it away, and hope forward.
Like how long did you have?
Example, I had a very, very large site, and I had about 3 days to totally UX, AI redesign it without any research, testing, or doing any design work.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was not fun. It was like, I had to pull a couple late nights because of that one. But that's the danger of a small agency, is that it's a lot faster turnaround, because, you know, they're probably bidding lower for work. You have less hours to work on something, and you have less people to work with, because, you know, there's such a big time constraint.
Which is kind of the opposite of what I face, which is that you probably have like 30 stakeholders that you have to review with that particular item, and then you have to seek approval through, you know, a giant chain of command before. And we're talking about very minor, what you might think of as like a minor tweak to something that requires that level of approval and eyeballs on it.
I would say absolutely don't hold back in critiques, especially at your new job. I found that a lot of other designers do not have and are not accustomed to the open feedback that you do here, and it's been really an asset to me in my career. Like, people actually want to hear feedback, even if they're not accustomed to getting it from other designers, and lots of times it can help you stand out in a group maybe mediocre designers that have maybe a lot more real experience than you do.